Hey, how's it going, everyone? So, I wanted to do an updated video on my queretaroensis midcuts. So, I was expecting more growth, but also I wasn't, because I know they didn't have roots, so they were going to focus on root development. I did sell some cuts, but these are the ones I kept, and the ones I kept, out of all these that I kept, this is the only one that I believe has not rooted. And you could tell, you could give it a little wiggle test. So I'm going to wiggle this around, and you could see how much play it has in bottom. It's not anchored. You see that? Whereas in this one, I try to wiggle it, and look at that. It has no, trying to wiggle it, it has no play down there, or very little. That tells me that it's anchored good. It has some nice roots. And the problem with this one was that I put a few on top of the slope here, and it fell over, and I did not notice for like 2 months. So it wasn't doing anything. Luckily it didn't dry out. I did put it back in its pot, but for 2 months it did nothing pretty much. It was in the shade. It was shaded, so it wasn't getting sun. It wasn't photosynthesizing really, you know. So yeah. This is the only one I'm really worried about. Out of all the cuttings, even the tips that I have that I got from last year that rooted this year, the only one I'm worried about is one here that gave me like 15 fruits. So it was really productive, but the bad part about it is that I shouldn't have left all those fruits growing. I should have only left 2 or 3, maybe 4, because it sucked all the juices out of this plant, and it did not focus on root development. It focused on strictly fruit. Look, it's still, oh, there's a fruit here. Oh, this is dried up. Yeah, but it gave so many pitayas, and they had really good flavor. But the sad part is that it really hindered the root development. When you compare that to these other ones, these did give fruit, but maybe because these were such fat cuttings. They were much thicker. They were able to produce those fruits, produce all that fruit, and they did root. I'm going to tug it here, and when I tug, there is no play down there. And I did dig around like a month ago, and I did see roots. So these are fully rooted, and they're really, really fat and healthy. This one, unfortunately, you can see, yeah, it's so skinny. I could even, you know what, I'll show you, because I plan to plant it a little deeper anyway. So let me show you. Get my gloves from over here. Yeah, before I show you the growth on the midcuts, let me show you how I'm pretty positive there are no roots. I'll be mad if there's one piece of root, because I really hate to check for roots. People have told me like, oh, I pulled it out and there's no roots. Do not do that. But this one, I'm pretty positive there are no roots. So I'm just gonna pull it out, because I'm gonna plant it deeper. And since it hasn't rooted and it's late in the season, I might stick this one in the greenhouse. Oh, you see that? So this is why I don't like to pull them out. Look at this. It has 2 little roots that are growing now, or a few. Look at this, very little. So now what I'm going to have to do is pot this up really carefully to not disturb and not damage these roots. I'm going to be really, really careful. So I'm going to pot this up in the same pot. I'm just going to remove all the spines from all the fruit it gave. There's so many spines in here. Let me remove all these spines. so many spines in here. Remove the weeds. And I want to dig around. Yeah, I'm going to stick it back in this pot, but I'm going to add more substrate to when I put it back in here to make sure this gets roots. So look, this is my worst one, and it actually does have it's barely getting roots. So I'm going to pot this up, and I'm going to move it so it gets more sun. Gonna absorb more sunlight so I could hopefully grow some roots before it gets colder. Yeah, that was the main one I was worried about. None of my queretaroensis cuttings rotted and died. None. The worst one was that one. Okay, so let me focus on let me talk to you guys now about my midcuts. So my midcuts, you could see this one in my last video. It only had this pup and it was smaller, but it got this other pup, and then it stopped growing that pup and it started growing this pup. And look at this. This is like at least 12 inches of growth. This is really, really nice. Look at how beautiful this new pup that emerged came out. This new arm. You want to call it a stem, an arm. Beautiful. Look at that. So there's people who don't like midcuts, but look at this. You have 3 new arms coming out. Branches, stems, whatever you want to call them. Beautiful, right? So that's the growth on this one. And this is my thickest. My friend, I got some cuttings from a friend who has 12 mother plants, and this one was, for some reason, the phenotype of this one was just, it was the thickest, it had the thickest branches, arms, and so it had a lot of energy to grow all this, and it is fully rooted. It's sad that I don't have it in the ground, but I'm not supposed to be putting more stuff in the ground right now. Hopefully I'll buy a home soon and I'll put all my queretaroensis in the ground. But I do need to up-pot this, but I think I'm going to wait until early next spring. Yeah, I don't want to be repotting right now, but I am going to repot some that I haven't. The containers are just way too small. So here's another queretaroensis midcut. In the past video, it had no pups. It had a lot of potential pups, but they kind of stalled. And I think it just focused on root development. I got a weed here. It's a weed becoming a tree. Oh, wow. Stubborn weeds. I'll pull it out later. I got the top. Anyways. So it focused on root development. I could give it that little wiggle test. And you could see it's solid. So it's probably root bound right now. It has this beautiful pup right here. This is maybe like 8-inch pup. And it has these other 2 pups, these small ones. It looks like it was gonna give a pup here, but the other pups that it was gonna give, they kind of stalled out. I think they focused on root development, and now these pups. Right now this one is actively growing. You could tell when they're growing, they have the red spines. So this one was growing earlier in the year. You don't see the red spines, and it stalled. This one too. And right now it's just focusing on this pup right here. It's just, that's the life force. That's where all the life is going to. This midcut right here, look at this. Beautiful pup right here. Big sucker. It's coming out thick, and it's maybe probably about the same as that one. It's about 8-9 inches. This other midcut here has some nice pups right here. It looks like it's growing here, like it was gonna give a pup here. It only ended up giving 3 pups as of now. It looks like it wants to give one here, but as of now, it has 3 pups. Actively growing. You can see the red spines. This one is actively growing, and this one right here. 3 beautiful pups. This midcut here has only 2 pups. Yeah, only 2 pups. It hasn't grown much, but it's also in a smaller pot. If you see that, these are in like 5-gallon pots. This one is like in a 2-gallon pot. So I think if this one was in a bigger pot, it would have more roots and it would have gotten more growth. This one right here is a big, thick cut, but it didn't really focus. I think it focused just plainly on roots. It hardly, oh, you know what too? Well, let me show you the pups first. It has this pup, which is no red spines. I don't think it's actively growing. This one either, this one either. But let me tell you, this one gave some buds on the side, and it gave a bud right here. It gave a fruit. So I think that's why it didn't get as much growth, even though it's a really fat cut. This one's a big cut too, and this one did give like 2 little fruits. It gave 2 fruits on the side too. And then it gave these 3 pups, which this one is actively growing. You can see the red spines. This one is actively growing. These seem like it's stalled, and it's focusing on this pup right now. This one right here, oh, here's this other one too. This one has some nice growth right here. It looks like this pup stalled. This one, it looked like it was gonna get a pup there, and it stalled. And it mainly focused on roots and on this pup. This is a smaller pup. This is probably like a 6-inch pup. Beautiful pup though, and it is actively growing. This is in a 2-inch pot too, so it's not the best time to repot right now, but I am going to repot these 2 and maybe put them in the greenhouse just to be sure they don't rot. And I won't be watering these for a week or 2. It is getting colder in the nights especially, so I do want to repot those now because they're in little tiny pots. They're in 2-gallon pots. This one too, you know what? That one doesn't have roots, so I don't think it has roots. I want to check, but I'm not going to. I'm just gonna add more topsoil, or maybe just pumice to anchor it, because that one was out of soil and it didn't have roots. Probably like a month and a half ago or 2 months ago, it didn't have roots. I don't think it has roots. And like I said, I wiggle it and it wiggles a lot. Look at this. So I don't think it has roots. But it's crazy how it has that pup actively growing. Let's count these pups. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it has 5 little pups. They all kind of stalled, and it's focusing on this pup right now, this little one right now. That's what it's focusing on. And you know what? I do want to up pot this pot right here, and let me give it the little wiggle test. It's pretty solid, and to show you guys how solid it is, I just show you guys I'm gonna up pot it. I was gonna up pot it today or tomorrow. Might as well do it today. Look at this. Might as well up pot it today. Remove the weeds. I'm going to pull this out. See what kind of roots we have here. Look at this. Like I said, this is fully rooted. Look at the roots. I can remove them. Look at the roots here. Fully rooted. Look. And it's solid all the way around. It has roots. So this is root bound right here. Totally rooted cut. It's definitely in too small of a pot. So that's why I'm going to go ahead and up pot this. And I don't know if you've seen the video in the past where I put these little this drywall tape right here to keep the substrate from falling out. And yeah, I absolutely love using this. Let me move it from here. Yeah, I pulled out some pieces of roots. It's okay. But yeah, this is drywall tape I use in containers that have big drainage holes like this, because if you don't do that, you're gonna have substrate falling out, and aside from the substrate compressing already, you're gonna get more of it going down because substrate is falling out. Anyways, so here you go, guys. You can see the roots on this beauty right here, and that's what it focused on. That's what all of these really focused on, root development. Because last year, or my last video was about 7 months ago, 6-7 months ago, they did not have roots at all. I gave them all the wiggle tests. They did not have roots. So it looks like I'm gonna up-pot that one, and I really need to up-pot this one right here too, which I give it the wiggle test too. It's pretty solid. Yeah, I'm gonna have to up-pot that guy, and that one's rooted too. It's you know, you give it the wiggle test, and it'll tell you, it'll show you that whether it has roots or not, you know. That's a good test to do. Aside from those, I rooted like a Martinezii. I rooted this Martinezii midcut. It had some pups it was gonna give, and it kind of stalled out. But this one's actively growing, and this bottom one, no, that one kind of stalled too. But next year, these other ones will start growing, and then this one is actively growing now. But yeah, guys, don't sleep on midcuts. They're midcuts will give you pups, and you know, a year or two. Like, I could do an updated video on some of these midcuts, and you could see the substantial growth next year. Now that these grew and they're rooted, now that these are rooted, next year they are going to get some major growth. I'm gonna put all of these in way bigger pots, in 15-gallon pots, and their growth is just going to skyrocket. I might give one of these to my brother and put it in the ground in his house, and that one will for sure just take off. I might be getting fresh cuts. It's not the best time to get cuttings right now, but my friend wants to cut them kind of late, so I might get some cuttings from a friend, which I will be helping him sell them, and or I might hold on to them and keep them in the greenhouse and keep them dry and plant them next year. We'll see. It's really late in the year. The best time to take cuttings would be when it's really hot, like in August or even June or July. Anyways, guys, I just wanted to make this quick video on the midcuts and their progress. You know what? Let me show you let me show you this one too. Let's do that one while we're at it. You saw this one had some totally full of roots. So let's do this one. And this one we had left for dead. My friend left it for dead. It broke off, and he told me, you know what? I left it in the ground. The sun was hitting it, and it got sunburnt. I'm thinking of throwing it away. I'm like, no way, man. You know, let's I'll take it and I'll root that. And I brought it home, and even though, you know, it's gonna have these blemishes here, this is all, you could peel this back. This is all dry skin it had previously. Look at this. You could peel this all back. It's all cosmetic because it's corked. This is like wood now. This is really hard. It's calloused over. That's the term you use. You could say it calloused over. Yeah, you can't really. Corked is mostly in the bottom, but you could say corked, but mostly you would say it calloused over. It healed, and it's perfectly healthy. Even though it looks ugly on one side, it's still healthy, and it rooted. And I'm going to show you the roots right now. Let's pull this out. Oh man, yeah, these roots are pretty good. They seem good. Let's take a look. There it is. Beautiful roots here. Beautiful roots. Look at that. Totally rooted. It has a nice, really big root ball. Look at this. Here's where it ends, and these are all the roots down here. Look at this, solid. Even though it's ugly on this side because it did get sunburnt, again, this is all cosmetic. Look at this, all cosmetic. It's nice and dry down here. It's calloused. Anyways, guys, that's gonna be it for the video. I'm gonna repot these guys right now and into 15-gallon pots. No, 5-gallon. This is a 2-gallon pot right here. I'm gonna put it in a 5-gallon. That's it for now, guys. Cheers.